further questions? Yes.
Something that Bill caught my attention when one of the speakers described the effects of sugar in the body. Specifically, he mentioned how it might suppress your immune system. And that being said, I just had a question about whether we should limit the amount of, let's say, fruit. It might be high in sugar, not so fruit.
The sugar in fruit is completely different than white processed sugar. So that really needs to be driven home. So when you're eating fruit, it's coming in this beautiful package created by nature full of fiber and all kinds of phytonutrients and enzymes and wonderful things. That is completely different than white table sugar. What they were talking about is the white table sugar you're finding in the meal they showed, you know, the Coke, the plum sauce on the Chinese food, all of those kind of things. And what we're talking about is a whole food, plant-based diet. So foods as they are found in nature. So fruit found in nature, white sugar, not so much. Similar to oil, you know, we're not finding pools of olive oil in nature. So eat olives, eat avocados, don't eat oil. So it's really, all you have to think is whole food. Whole food. Is white sugar a whole food? No. You'd have to eat an 8-foot piece of sugar cane to get, I think, a tablespoon of sugar. I believe that's what it is. I mean, have you ever chewed on sugar cane? It's hugely fibrous. You can eat that stuff all day long and you never have to worry about it. But you grind that down, you get away from all the fiber, all the good things that nature put in it. So that's really the key difference when they're talking about sugar. It's processed sugar, not fruit. Fruit's great. Well, I think we can agree sweeteners are sweeteners. I mean, obviously, sometimes we want to have a little indulgence, a little maybe tiny bit of maple syrup in your tea or whatever.
Date paste.
Honey, we use a lot of date paste as a sweetener because it's a whole food. Honey is a more ethical issue. We know that bees pollinate, I believe, 1/3 of all of our crops, and we have an issue with bees dropping dead. We're losing whole the hives overnight. They're just disappearing. They're on the run. We really need them for our agricultural system. So I think there are so many amazing sweeteners out there that perhaps we should just leave the bees alone. Particularly in industrialized bee hives, honey production, they take away the food that they have made for themselves and they replace it with kind of a sugar water, which is not giving them the nutrients that they need, compromising their immune systems, making them susceptible to disease and parasites and so on and so forth. So given the status of what bees are going through, we try and avoid honey. So that's an ethical thing though.
Yes.
So
First of all, I felt very nice when you looked at me and said honey. So, it's a good feeling. You can be plant-based from 3 reasons, 3 different reasons. The health one is the one that catches the most. Most of the people want to be healthy, have healthy life, quality of life. But don't forget, we have 2 additional pillars. One is the ethical, and the other one is the environmental. You mentioned the ethical on the way about not abusing the bees, which all the other pillars coming, I would say, following after you have the first one, or you adopt the first one, you get also the other 2. But if we're talking about sugars, I would say that medically or chemically, all the sugars, wherever it is, if it is honey, or if it is all these artificial sugars, are the same. They are not going to help you. If you ask me about one, and you ask the right person because I have a sweet tooth. I really like candies and whatever you. We had here a fantastic exhibition of candies and sweetness. But the ones that I'm using, which is not, doesn't absorb into your blood system, is stevia. Stevia is made out of leaves. It's a stevia leaf, and it's not absorbed into your blood system. So if you want a touch of something tasty, something sweet, use the stevia. There are a lot of tips, I'm sure, that we can hear as we go, but sweeteners are sweeteners. But you can continue with the honey.
So, and at the back here, ma'am, you had a question?
Yes, what about whole wheat grains like bread and whole wheat pasta, whole grain pasta?
Okay. So when Dan was diagnosed with cancer, we became very, very strict. And one of that was that we did not eat any flour products. We only ate grain in its whole form, unbroken grains. So that means we were having oat groats or wheat berries and barley and all of those kind of things, and we really avoided flour. Also, during my weight loss, I did not eat flour products as well because they're absorbed much more quickly, and the more you process a food, the more calorically dense it becomes. So it depends on where you are in this journey of health. If you're dealing with a chronic disease or if you're dealing with a weight problem, try and go for whole, unbroken grains. If that being said, you're extremely healthy and you want to have a little whole grain pasta, and not as opposed to whole wheat, have whole grain pasta or whole grain breads, that's probably okay once in a while, but we really advocate a whole food plant-based diet. That being said, we were out there having a few treats tonight as well, so I'm not going to be pious about that, but we strive to follow those guidelines for best health, because I have to say we are highly motivated. I'm stage 4 cancer, we're working hard to keep that at bay and to continue having a happy, healthy life. So that is why we are strict about that.
Yeah, if I can add something to it. You asked about the whole grain in general. I completely agree that it depends on the situation. If someone is gluten sensitive or have celiac, of course, they need to be aware of it and to avoid anything that has gluten in it. But if you don't, I would suggest if you want to eat carbs are essential to your body. It's important that you will have enough carbs in your body. Your brain functions on carbs. You need carbs, but in that case, pay attention that it will be whole grain. And that's one of the things, whole grain. And that's one of the things that I'm mentioning to my patients all the time. It's not whole wheat, because there are many hypes there. They put it under the note, whole wheat. Whole wheat, it means that it is made out of wheat. That's it. But it's not whole grain. Whole grain, it means that you have the bran with it. Okay, it's not processed. It's a completely different game plan. So if it is a whole grain, it means that the sugar is absorbed much less into your body. And that's the whole idea that we talked about fibers. Fibers, when you have the sugar with the fruit, with the whole capsule of the fruit, the whole package, you get much less sugar in your body. And besides that, you have so many other things that are going on in the whole food that you cannot get it just from one thing that you can find in the market. So it's just remember, if you are talking about flour, whatever it is, pasta, rice, anything that you want to use the grains should be written there. And don't let anyone deceive you. It should be written on the label, 100% whole grain. Only that one is the whole grain. Now, if I may, just to add to what Dan said before, that was the ones that turned me into vegan, you would say, or whole based plant-based. That was the anti-cancer by Dr. Servan Schreiber. Dr. Daniel Servan Schreiber was a Canadian psychiatrist that was diagnosed with stage 4 cancer in the brain, astrocytoma. And only then he changed, he was a fantastic researcher, and he started to research what can help him in this stage. And like that, he found the whole plant. He didn't call it at that time not vegan and not plant-based diet. He just say reduce. Actually, I took it to the maximum to eliminate all the animal-based protein, all the animal products. That's what you understand from the book. So if you want to really read about the fantastic journey of a physician that contracted the disease and fight it strongly, they gave him only a half year to live. Survived 16 years. He changed it to whole plant diet. And the name is Dr. Servan Schreiber, and you can find it there. It's called Anti-Cancer.
His last book, he talked about that after he had fought it very successfully and started giving lectures about it, he started to ignore his own advice and the cancer treatment.
You're talking about Dr. Servan Schreiber? Okay. Yes, he died.
The quintessential reading material for us, and not just for cancer and nutrition, but nutrition itself, as you saw in the film, Dr. T. Colin Campbell, who initially his study started off with respect to protein deficiency, and then when he started seeing some of the evidence and the data he was getting in his studies and his research, he then shifted it over to protein being something that we should be increasing on, as to protein that's something could be very detrimental to us, and then the result of animal protein, I should say, versus plant protein, and hence his work with the China project, with the study in China, and this quintessential book, The China Study, which is an excellent read for anybody who's directly affected by cancer, who knows somebody who has, if you want to understand the disease itself, its development and progression, and then again how plant-based nutrition can assist with it and what it does, and the harmful effects of animal protein. It's definitely a good book. Yes.
Yes?
Okay, go ahead.
Well, she's already standing.
I can't explain it totally, but I would like, I hope that Joe and Dr. could organize some more about how cancer grows in the body, what the
you learn, the better. I always have an analogy. We live in the Okanagan Valley, and we have 7 acres, which when we moved there was covered with rattlesnakes. And I was terrified. We had small children, animals, and so I just did a ton of reading about rattlesnakes and how they breed and when they breed and how they are territorial and all that kind of thing. And the more I learned about them, the more the fear went away because I knew what I was dealing with. And I think that goes for so many things, particularly cancer. And when you read the China study and you really learn about the mechanisms of cancer and what exactly happens in the body, you can almost, well, it can take some of the fear away and leave you with some hopefulness. And I think that is so important because fear strikes, well, cancer strikes fear in our hearts the minute we hear that word. And it doesn't, and it is still pretty scary, but it doesn't have to be a death sentence.
I love your first.
I just want to ask, why is brown rice more important than white?
Because it's a whole grain and it hasn't had the bran removed. So that's what's making it brown, and then they polish all of that off and it turns into this pristine white rice. So it's missing parts that nature intended to have.